Okay, so now you've moved out of the forest, and you did indicate a little bit that you went to the same school then. It had been moved, so you went through 8th grade at that school. And what was the school called after it had been moved? Did it go by another name or?
Before it was moved, I think it was called the Coal School. Coal School.
Oh,
And after it was moved up there, it was called Pleasant Vale U18. So
okay. All right, good. So then after 8th grade, then what? Did you go beyond 8th
after
grade?
8th grade, me and Lord Miller and Gene Battles decided we were going to go to the AC. So it went with the AC, I suppose we were there about a month and a half or so, and they had what they called Parents' Day. And Gene Battles' dad and mother come down to visit on Parents' Day. And Gene was homesick like I was. Gene talked him into letting him quit, so he quit and went home. After he went home, I really got homesick, and I said, no, I've had enough of this. So I went home. So I didn't go to school the next year. And the year following that, I started high school in Warroad.
Okay.
And we didn't have buses or anything, so I had boarded with my aunt in
Who would that have been?
Susan Giger was married
Oh,
to
Susan
a guy named
Giger.
Giger.
Okay.
And I remember Dad, to pay for my board there, he brought her in wood. So he'd cut wood and haul it in so she'd have wood, and that was my pay for my board.
Okay. Now, we should go back to the AC so that people know what you're talking about when you say you're talking about the ag school in Crookston, correct? Okay. And that operated for many years, and now it's part of the university college system there. So, and there were a lot of local kids, even people my age, who went to the ag school. That was kind of in its waning years.
It was a nice school. Yeah. Even though I wasn't there that long, there was things that I learned there that carried through, like the carpenter class, and they had a big barn there with cows and stuff. So it was a college for agriculture, really. Yeah.
And one of the big pluses of the school, the reason a lot of farm kids went there, was because of the length of the school year.
Right. Yeah. Right. It worked so you could do your farm work and
They could stay home and help with harvest in the fall, and then, if I recall, I think school probably started in October, mid or late October, and then you were out early in the spring. And, But I'm sure you had a longer school day.
Well, yeah, it started at daylight, yeah.
Okay, so you come to Warroad, and you're going to school there. Now, we're talking about a time period that is kind of World War II. World War II had started and was moving into the mid-40s. How do you play into that?
I enlisted in the Navy in my third year of high school. Yeah, I was 17 years old. The war was going full strength, and they I guess I lifted in the Navy because I didn't want to go in the Army and I'd be drafted. So listed in, and Lauren Miller and Gene Battles were listed at the same time. So we went through training at Great Lakes at the same time, and I didn't get shipped out with them because I had came down with scarlet fever. I was in the hospital for almost a month. And then I was shipped out and shipped to Japan.
Okay.
and did duty there on a yard tanker and a floating dry dock.
Okay.
And sailed around the ocean a little bit, went to Korea and went over to China. And
Okay. So
it was quite an experience. Yeah.
So was that must have been close to the end of the war?
The war, when I got over there, the peace treaty had been signed.
Okay.
And it was just occupation. And, yeah.
Okay. Did you go ashore at all?
Oh yeah.
Over there?
Yeah. They took us on a tour of the bomb, where the bomb went off. So I got to see that, and that was. Everybody should see it, because then we would never have another war.
Wow, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Devastation.
Total destruction.
You know?
Yeah.
Can you explain what kind of it looked like? Like, what it?
Yeah, it was like if you were sitting in the mountains, or there are mountains there, but the city was kind of in a valley, and it just stripped everything. The only thing that was standing were a few factory smokestacks that were still standing. Yeah. Everything was demolished. Boy. That would be the epicenter of the bomb. It's unbelievable what one bomb could do.
Yeah, yeah.
And it killed a lot of people, but if we would have had to take Japan by rigor means, it would have been a long process, because they were dug in like you wouldn't believe, with the guns and stuff that they had along the shores and stuff. And those people didn't give up. You either killed them or they killed themselves.
Yeah. So you do your stint in the Navy, and you're discharged. You come home. Then what?
Yeah, I played around for a while, for a year or so, and then I went back to school.
Went back to high school?
Finished my high school, yeah.
Okay.
In 1948.
Okay, so you were in the 1948 graduating class at Warroad High School.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you usually attend the reunions that
I do,
they have?
yeah. I do, yeah.
Are there a fair number of your classmates still attending, still alive?
I really don't know if any of them is alive, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Well, that says a lot about your longevity and health. That's pretty special. Okay, so went back to school, you graduate, and what comes next? Job, marriage?
Marriage, yeah.
Marriage, okay. What year were you married?
Got married in 1952.
Okay.
Yeah.
The year I was born.
Yeah, married a fisherman's daughter, commercial fisherman's daughter.
Yes, tell us a little bit about that. You could introduce her and tell a bit about her, and then we'll talk about your kids.
Okay, I met her. I had a good friend by the name of Don Lindbergh, and he was going with a young girl from around here, and she was good friends with my wife. And I says to Don, I says, "Who's that good-looking gal you got there? Who'll go with you?" And he introduced me to her, and from then on it was go. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we got married in 1952, and we ended up out on the farm. I started farming with my dad the first couple years, and we invested some money in machinery, combines and swathers and stuff. And then we had some bad years, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to do something else. So I took a civil service exam, got a job with the DNR, Forestry Division. And I ended up working for them for 22 years. In the meantime, we had 6 kids.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 boys and 2 girls.
Now, before you introduce your kids, let's tell our listeners about your wife, her name and the family she came from. You
Okay, Tricia Vicarius. Her dad was Ed Vicarius, and her mother was Isabel. They lived on Hay Island, and he was a commercial fisherman. He was a character.
I was just going to say, and he was a character.
Everybody knew him, and he knew everybody else. And if you run into him, you had a hard time getting away from him because he was telling you stories. And one time he was a bootlegger. The story goes that he would brew up a batch of booze in the fall and load his boat. He had a pretty good sized boat. Load his boat with Indians that had been trapping, and they'd head for Kenora to sell the furs. And then by the time they got to Kenora, he would own all the furs because he'd trade booze for the furs.
For the furs.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then your family, your kids, can you introduce the names?
Okay, the oldest one is Gail. Call him Mitch.
Okay.
And he worked for Marvin's for a number of years. Married Olson girl from Sale. Neil is younger. Married an Olson girl.
So brothers married sisters.
Yeah, that's right. And they both worked at Marvin's for years. And my daughter Lynn married Jeff Hallett.
Okay.
And she still works for Marvin's. And my younger daughter married Howard Nakamus. And she's
Michelle, right?
Yeah, Michelle. She works for, I don't recall what they call it, but she works for, goes out with young families and does work with the young kids. She has a teaching certificate, so she's a teacher, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And I missed one somewhere.
You did.
There. Oh, Wayne. I missed
And
Wayne.
another one.
Yeah.
And
He's retired now, and he's lives down by the cities in at Howard Lake. But he worked for years for Caterpillar. Went to school to be a diesel mechanic. He worked for Caterpillar for years. Then he went to work for Minnesota Transit with the buses in the cities. And worked there.
Okay. And then you have one more. John.
John, yeah, John works for Marvin's, and yeah.
Yep. Good. Is he the youngest, or is Michelle?
Michelle is the youngest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. So then you went to work for the forestry. How many years were you there?
22 years.
Okay. And what kind of different positions did you have there?
Well, I started out what they call a guard. Then I went to technician, and then it was just general forester.
What does a guard do in the forestry?
Well, he's mainly hired to fight fires, but he ends up doing a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Running Caterpillar and road graders and work around the buildings. Yeah.
Okay. And a technician.
Technician does pretty much the same thing as the full-fledged forester. He works with setting up timber sales and leases and reforestation. And, yeah.
Timber sales, are they involved in that? Selling stumpage or?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So.
The forester has the say on what's being sold and everything, but the technician goes out and sets it up, and
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, we did a lot of scaling the wood, and yeah.
Right. Yeah. The logging industry has really changed now, hasn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a fellow log just south of where we live now, and I swear that he had over $1 million worth of machinery out there. And they don't even have to get out of the cab. They sit in a heated cab.
Yeah.
They have a chainsaw with them, but they never use it. You know, rarely use it anyway.
Does anyone cut 100-inch wood anymore, or is it all?
They do cut some up into 100-inch, but most of it goes out pole length.
Pole length.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the wood around here ends up going where?
Most of it goes to the International Falls. yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think there's some that goes to Bemidji,
Okay.
to the mill that they have there, but most
Okay.
of it goes.
And
Most
so,
of it goes to International Falls.
right.
Yeah.
And when it goes to the falls, it goes there for the purpose of
Paper.
paper. It's made into paper.
Yeah.
So, okay. Do they take most all species or varieties of trees for paper now, or?
When I first started working for the forestry, spruce was the wood that went for paper. They took very little aspirin. Now they prefer aspirin.
Okay.
For some reason, they take all the aspirin they can get.
Yeah.
Jack pine was used for paper, and if it was of the right size, it was lumber. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were there for 22 years. You probably had a lot of bosses and worked with a lot
Oh yeah.
of different people, probably
did.
some characters too.
I did. Yeah.
Who were some of your bosses that you?
I started out
worked
with Ralph Thompson at Clear River, and he was kind of a character, but he was really really a good forester. I mean, he tried to look out for the small timber operator and everything, and then I had Tom Adams and Robert Winterstrand
Okay.
were the main for the
Right.
And then I did work with Roger Hochstidler. He was a character.
Oh yes. Yeah, he was.
Beans Matson, he was the equipment operator. He was quite a guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gordy Saul from Grigla.
Yeah.
Rick Olson from Wanaska. Yeah, there's lots of them. I can go on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says a lot about your job, you know, when you reflect on the people you work with, and they were fun to be with, and characters, and it always makes your job easier. So.
It was fun working with it. When I first started, was really the forestry group was like a big family. We'd go on, they'd have forest inventory somewhere, and we'd go probably end up to Black Duck or somewhere for a week, camped out and do forest inventory. Or we'd have a thing on the northwest angle. Would get? I don't know if they still do that or not, but not as much as they did at that time.
Yeah. I was going to ask if you dealt with the northwest angle at all, if you had projects up there.
A lot of scaling up there and setting up sails. Yeah.
Right. Was the M&O or Mando, were they operating when you were?
They were, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd go up there and stay for 2-3 days. They had a special little bunk shack for us, and they'd feed us while we were up there.
Okay. Their camp, was it pretty much right on the north-south border?
Pretty close to it. Was in
yeah,
a little bit, yeah. Yeah.
I was there one time. Yeah, I remember that. So, good.
It's a tough job with fires.
Okay.
Yeah, we had some really bad fires that I remember one up at Minnesota Hill. The fire come out of the lake bottom and up into a stand of spruce, and the crown fires were jumping a mile ahead of the main fire. I remember pulling into the yard of a farmer there, and the lady come out, and she was wringing her hands. She was scared to death, and she says, you suppose it would help if I say a little prayer? And I said, well, I don't think prayers ever hurt anything. She went in the house, and within 10 minutes it was raining. Not
Really?
heavy, but it rained enough to knock the crown down on the spruce. Yeah.
No kidding.
That's unbelievable, but that's what happened.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the fighting fires, did you travel outside the area at all, or pretty much in this district?
I never did. I could have, but a lot of them signed up and went out west in the fight fires.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the firefighting, I mean, you would bring in bulldozers. What other kind of equipment, or how did you
Yeah,
fight
we
fires?
had in the spring. The first thing we do in the spring is go around and get a sign up people that had cats or trucks that could be used for fighting fire.
You mean civilians that you
Yeah,
could hire to,
Yeah,
if you needed?
farmers.
Oh,
A lot of the farmers. And then we'd put them on stand. If the fire get in the fire situation, we'd put them on standby. And they'd get a small payment for just being on standby, but they'd be there when we needed them.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about it. Brady, anything else? It was great visiting with you. You had some great stories, and we learned a lot. I did. It was awesome. So thank you very much for coming today, and we look forward to watching this. So thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.